This is a Go to War podcast, which is a mindset.
It's time to go to war.
You're the fucking problem. Get your mind right and get ready to go to war.
It's time to go to war.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Go to War podcast. This is your host, John Paramore, and I have something really special for you today, okay? And I'm going to start this podcast off, and it's probably right out of the gate going to piss some of you off, which is fine. You guys know how I roll. I'm here to tell you the truth and let you deal with it and sort through it in your own way and perspective. And I'm going to tell you right out of the gate in this podcast that I hope you fucking fail. Flat out. I'm going to tell you, I hope at some point in time in your life that you understand and you really grasp the concept of what I'm about to tell you. And I'm sure some of you read the title of this podcast, you saw it, and you're like, what the hell is this all about? I'm going to tell you flat out, just like I said, I hope you fail. And I hope you will lean into what I'm about to say to you and really grasp and understand why me failing on a constant and consistent basis is the exact reason why I win more than the majority of you guys out there. I get messages all the time in my DMs asking me questions about business. I get DM questions all the time asking me certain things about lead gen, marketing, recruiting, processes, blah, 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 right? I had one the other day where somebody said to me, it seems like you came out of nowhere. It seems like you blew up out of nowhere. And it's like, I guess some of you don't really understand and know the full story of like me crashing and burning really bad in 2008, 2009, going bankrupt, nearly losing my marriage, having somebody pull a gun on me and demand payment for bills I couldn't afford to pay, things like that. You guys don't know all those stories. Some of you do, some of you don't. But I'm gonna tell you what I learned at a very young age, playing sports, things like that, is that failure creates champions. You guys, you go watch Sports Center, you go look at some of these motivational videos, and they talk about winning. They want to sell you on the sexy part of winning. They want to sell you on what it looks like when you're a champion and you get the ring and you get the trophy and you get the money and you get the girls and you get the whatever. What they don't tell you and what they don't show you 9 times out of 10 is the amount of failure it took to get to that point. Now, before we go way deeper into this today, I want to tell you something. There's a massive difference between failing and quitting. Huge difference, okay? Most of you guys know how to quit. You've probably been quitting your entire life. Maybe you quit on a marriage. Maybe you quit on a spouse. Maybe you quit on your job. Maybe you quit doing stuff that you hate. Maybe you quit doing something that you should have done, but at that given moment, you were just too much of a pussy to see your way through it, so you didn't see your way through it, right? I would venture to say the majority of you listening to this podcast by default are quitters. So what I don't want you to do is to confuse the word quitting with failing. Failing, the difference between the two is quitting is you're doing it when it gets hard. You're under a certain amount of pressure. You don't like the way it feels anymore. It's put you outside of your comfort zone. It's hard. It takes a lot of work. It hurts. It's making you not feel good. All of that stuff, right? So you push to the point to where you can't stand the pain anymore, and then you quit. That is not failure. The difference is failure is pushing as far as you can push, where you get to this point where you can no longer push any further. You're out of resources. You're out of money. You're out of time. You're out of energy. You've taken your muscles to atrophy. That's failure. Okay. I've gone as fast and it's hard. I've pushed until my body breaks. That's failure. Okay? Most of you listening to this podcast have been on the cusp of failure, but your mindset didn't allow you to push through it and get the full lesson of failure, and instead you quit. So when I say to you, I hope you fail, I'm literally going to tell you that failure, taking yourself to that level and being willing to stay in the fire and withstand that much heat and pressure and vulnerability, is the difference between a real champion and a fake, posturing, full of shit champion. And I'm going to tell you, when I'm in the room full of winners, okay, what separates us from the fake is we know what it means to fail, because every single room that I've been in where there are real, authentic winners, these people have failed. They have failed. At some point in their life, they pushed so freaking hard, past the blood, past the tears, past the anger, past the emotion, that they just had nothing left to put in the tank. And I'm going to tell you, I've said this on other podcasts before, success does not reward the wrong people. There is a price to pay for success. And if you aren't willing to pay it, success looks at the price that you did pay, and it's like, nope, that's not good enough. Success wants to see you go to the point where you can't go anymore. And then it will open a door. And it will say, okay, my brother, like, yeah, you've paid the price. Here, you deserve this. Most of you walking around are like, you feel entitled, and you might say to yourself, I deserve more. How come I'm not farther in life than I am? How come I haven't created more than I've created? How come I haven't built more than I've created? You're not willing to even lean up against the fucking wall of failure. You're not even in the ballpark yet. Half of you guys are still in the fucking seats yapping away about what you want, but then the work shows up and it's like, nah, I don't know about that. That seems pretty hard. It feels painful. I don't like how it feels. I'm not going to touch that shit. So you quit. Your pattern is quitting. You don't have to like that. Again, these podcasts are specifically designed to help you create the mindset to get you in a place where you could go to war so you can fucking win. That's the point. That's the point. That's me coming here and telling you, look, the recipe to win and become successful and become a real champion is you have to fail your ass off. You have to. And the more that you're willing to experience that and lean into it and fall in love with it and understand that it's part of the process, the less likely you are to avoid it and quit when it shows up. It's that simple. But because it's easier to quit, it's also easier to settle. It's also easier to be okay with being okay, which means you're not going to get to the spot that you tell everybody, this is where I want to go, because you're simply not willing to go to the depths of hell and look failure in the face and be willing to take it on. So I've talked to some of you guys. If you guys follow me on social media at all, you know that I'm in the last parts of writing a book. I'm writing a book on this exact subject. This subject about how many times I've had to go through the price of failure to be able to do what I'm doing today, to be able to get to do what I'm doing today. I can honestly look anybody that asks me in the face and say, what I've created today is exactly what I've earned. Guess what? So can you. What you've created today is exactly what you earned. Now you get to decide if that's good, bad, or indifferent. If you don't like it, then you need to own it and be like, fuck, I want to do something different. I don't like this. I don't like how it feels. Then you got to change the habit. And I'm going to tell you, like, I don't care if it's in your body. I don't care if it's in your business. I don't care if it's in your relationship. I don't care if it's in the work that you do. If you're not willing to take it to the brink of failure and destruction and go to war for what you really want, you're not going to have it. And I'm going to tell you, like, you guys have no idea. You guys have no idea. I'll tell you right now how many times I have been at war with my wife and my relationship to the point that it's writing that gray line, that fine line of failure. Either she sees something in me that needs to change and we're battling it out. She's letting me have it. And she's holding her ground to the point that she's like so passionate about what she's saying. And she's like, boy, if you don't fucking get this, I'm out. Like, I'm out. Like, get this through your head. And I've been in that space with her before where I'm holding that line. And I know that the price to pay is at any given moment, she could crack and decide, fuck it, I'm out. I quit and go off into the abyss and find someone else to marry or get into a different relationship, right? Most of you don't have the relationship you really want because you won't take it to that level. And I'm going to tell you, that's what it takes. Unless you're one of them unicorns or magic few that magically married like your best friend and all of a sudden you guys are simpatico, you guys see everything eye to eye exactly as the way it should be. If that's you, good for you. But you're like the 0.05321% of like every other married couple in the world. Okay? The divorce rate in our country is so freaking high because people don't understand it takes work to get what you want. It takes work to create an ideal marriage, right? It takes work to create an ideal business. It takes work to create these things. Most of you will ride that line, and then when it starts to feel a little uncomfortable and you're like, nah, failure is bad. It could get really bad. You back out. So you settle for less. And then you wonder why you're unhappy and not fulfilled and so on and so on. But I'm telling you right now, what I hope for all of you listening to this podcast is you will have the ears to finally hear what I'm saying to you. I don't wish bad on you. I have no ill will toward you. I don't wish you bad luck. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I hope that you will take whatever it is that you really say to yourself and say to other people that you desire, and you will ride that bitch to the point where it's either right on the line or you might drive it over the line where you actually fail. And guess what? All the failures that I've ever had have not killed me. None of them. I'm sitting here with you. I'm talking to you. I could tell you story after story after story after story of times where I failed. I also can tell you story after story after story where I quit and how those things are incredibly different. And how I learning the lesson of quitting is far more painful than learning the lesson of actual failure and being able to, because when you quit, you got to start all the way over again. When you fail, you've taken it as far as you can. You've gone to and maybe it comes with starting over again, but you're not starting from the bottom again. You're starting from where you left off. People don't get that, right? When I went bankrupt in 2009, I didn't start over. I started where I left off. I walked in and created something from where I left off. Did I have to find new people? Yes. Did I have to create a different outline? Yes. Did I have to take a little bit different path? Yeah, because I fucking learned. I didn't want to duplicate it over again. But I took what I learned from that and brought it into the next thing and said, I will not duplicate these things. And then I built from there. And the times that I quit, it's like, well, I didn't really extrapolate or learn a lesson in that space. So I'm having to start all the way over again because I need to go back now and document the lessons that I should have learned had I not quit. And you guys see this, like I use these analogies a lot, but it's kind of like you haven't been to the gym. You know, one of my mentors and coaches says to me, the people have to, the fastest way to stop having to start over is to stop stopping. Stop quitting is essentially what he's saying. And if people would get, when I owned a personal training company, that was the one thing that was the hardest to communicate. Like, you can't come in here and work out for, a couple months and make progress and then stop and regress and think that you're going to come back in and leave off where you started. It doesn't work that way. You got to keep going. And if that means we take it to the brink where you get injured or, you bust through a wall that essentially breaks through the final belief that was keeping you stuck and whatever, that's part of it. There should be blood, sweat, and tears. There should be anxiety. There should be frustration. It should be hard. Listen, I'm telling you, I did a podcast on this before. You're going to pay the price no matter what. So if you won't take it to the brink, the price that you get is what you get. You wherever success says, well, you left off here, that's as far as that's what you get. The rest of the people that take it to that next step deserve the next step. You weren't willing to go there. So one thing that I want to tell all you guys, and I'm going to wrap this up, is I want you to, like we do a lot, I want you to take an inventory of your life and ask yourself, where am I getting close but then stopping? Where am I riding that line and then quitting? When's the last time that you actually worked yourself to the brink and to the point of failure? When? And what I want you to do going forward is I want you, and all the things that you want, number one, I want you to look at the stuff that you're avoiding, and I want you to do that work. And I want you to do that work to the level of like, you're going to do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, to the point that you can't, there's no way that you can fail at it. You're going to fail in the process of learning it probably several times. Don't quit. Don't quit. But fail at it several different times until you get to the point where you just can't do it wrong anymore. That's the level where you have to go. And if you're not willing to go to that level, you need to be okay with being okay, and you need to be okay with the shitty result that ends up being less than what you ideally want. Okay? So I want you to really listen to this podcast. If you have to listen to it 2 or 3 times to really get it and understand it, that's okay. But I want you to fail your ass off. I want you to practice the art of failing your ass off, not quitting, failing your ass off. And it takes a special mindset to be able to get yourself there. And that's this go to war mindset that we keep talking about. Okay? So, you know the drill. Take the inventory, get clear about where you are, get your mind right, wake up tomorrow, and be ready to go to war.
It's time to go to war.
Thank you for listening to the Go to War podcast. For more information about Smash, please visit www.thesmashco.com. This has been the Go to War podcast.